Yo, what's up guys, the Insane Game Freak here to bring you another figure review. Last time we did Luffy, this time it's on to the three swordsman himself, Zoro, Roronoa Zoro. And you'll finally get to see an example of the differences in their Jolly Rogers at the time skip, because there is a difference between Roronoa's old Jolly Roger and his new one. It's nothing too crazy, but it's still different, so let's open this bad boy up, and I'll be right back in a sec. Okay. So, we're back. Zoro, out of his casing. Zoro actually has a lot more to him in terms of extra shit, because if you're noticing, he has this weird looking pose. Like he's supposed to be holding something. You also see that only one of his swords is sheathed, which means we have mini swords. Woo! Real men say woo when they get their swords, because Zoro is so cool. You can actually tell the difference between the swords. It's not just like basic swords. I don't think that's gonna show up though. They're too skinny and too tiny for you to be able to tell, but there is a difference between the sword. This is the sword he's had since what is it? No. This is the sword he got in Longtown, and this is the sword he got by being Ryuma. And the sword that he's had since the beginning of his journey is still in the sheath, because remember, this sword has been cracked, I believe. Yeah, because this sword got cracked in the later fights of the series that I don't want to go into and spoil it, but then again, this is New World Zoro. So he looks essentially like he's supposed to. The only problem I have with this figure is in terms of, actually, let me just show off the articulation. First off, I'm going to put the swords in his hand. I don't really think it matters which hand you put the swords in, so I'm going to be biased and put the swords in these hands. There we go. Okay, so this is Zoro with the swords in both hands. For the most part, they stay. The only problem I have is this one right here is kind of loose. Like, it's a little bit too loose for me. There's like no grip here. This one seems fine, honestly. Like, this back one seems fine. He's leaning back a little bit. And the other thing I don't like with this figure is I think his hair is supposed to be a little longer than this. His head doesn't twist at all. But his hair is supposed to be a little longer than this. And this is how you know I'm kind of psycho about that shit. Because his hair is technically supposed to be a little longer. Like, his hair looks like a Zoro haircut, just wavier. Which it should have been a little longer. Not too much, but a little. Because this looks too much like classic Zoro with like wavy hair and shit. In terms of articulation, this thing has less articulation than Luffy. The back swords don't come off, but they do move a little bit. I don't think you're actually supposed to move them. Yeah, I don't think you're actually supposed to move them, so we're not going to move them. But it's a good material. He has a scar on his chest, a scar on his eye. I don't mind him smiling. Originally, that was one of my bigger problems with Zoro, is that they had him smile in this one. And I don't know why, but Zoro smiling comes off as weird as shit to me. Mainly just because Zoro, to me, I've never known Zoro to smile, like teeth smile anyway. If he was going to smile, I'd rather him do a smirk like a jackass or a badass like he's supposed to. Because he seems weird when he just like, but you know, after you look at it after a while, it looks fine. The detail is just as good as the Luffy figure. He has like this long ass jacket, so you see even less, but they did manage to color in that. You know, he has the pegs for his feet. And actually, get into his feet, which means we should now talk about his Jolly Roger. And so I can talk about the difference in his Jolly Roger. The difference is kind of obvious. The only difference is I think they changed the sword specifically to look like the ones he has now, which implies that he's going to have this for a while. But then again, figures aren't really the best thing to confirm any information about the series itself. But you can see that he has a scar on his eye now. So Jolly Roger changed. The sword changed. and he has a scar under his eye now. Now the Sailing Again figure for this is probably gonna have it where you can put the bandana on, which I kind of wish they gave it to this one. But obviously, this is the cheap version. If everyone wants to know, this was $26 on Right Stuff too. And, you know, obviously, Roronoa Zoro, Dead or Alive, same thing. So, let me put this bitch on the stand so you can see him on the stand. Okay? And mind you, he stands perfectly fine without doing that. But, you know, they gave you a stand, so you might as well use it. And here you go. Zoro on the stand. Give you a 360 look of how he's supposed to look with the swords and everything, and crooked ass smile, and Zoro for you, Jolly Roger and all, and just like Luffy's, it's perfectly stable. Just making sure. Yeah, perfectly stable. Doesn't fall off. This, and it's still there. The stand is stable. The swords aren't too loose to the point where they're falling out of his hands all the time. I can flip him around and do this, that. I mean, his sword moves and shit because it's still loose, but it's not so loose that it'll fall out. Actually, no, that's a lie. This sword might fall out, so I wouldn't shake this around too much. See, look. This one's a little loose because you can just do this by just slightly tapping on it. That's just me though, so I wouldn't mess with his bottom sword too much, or at least twist it to the side a little bit so it looks like it has like a. It's kind of in a mild stuck position, and it won't really move at all. But anyways, it's loose, but it's not too loose. So for $26. I can see why it's a little bit more than Luffy's because it's more detailed in the sense, and there was more to work with. And they got everything right except for I think the hair should be a little bit longer. And there's this weird green spot right here. It's like a painting fuck up. I can't tell if you. I don't know if you're gonna see that, which probably not because the fucking camera won't focus. Focus camera. Okay, you're not gonna focus. There's a green spot on his hand. It's not too noticeable. Are too glaring for it to piss me off, considering it was only $26. But this is a good figure, all in all. So, this is Roronoa Zoro, time skip version, crooked ass smile like a cheeky bastard, and you know, new Jolly Roger with the scar over his eye and the changing of the swords, and the stand's good. So I would say get this one too. I mean, I'm probably gonna be suggesting all these figures, but the one we're doing next. It's Franky, and my God, out of these three, out of Luffy, Zoro, and Franky is the one we're gonna have the most fun with, guys, because that fucking thing looks like a beast. I mean, I'm gonna give you a prequel or a preview to that fucking figure. Jesus. One sec. The Franky box is huge. This is the Franky box. Dwarfs this bitch. Look at this. It's like the Zoro box. The fucking Zoro box is as tall as it, but nowhere else. The Franky figure, it looks huge as shit. Also, I guess for the sake of it, I should give you a size comparison between. I'll give you a size comparison between Zoro and Luffy. One sec. So, this is Zoro and Luffy. They're about the same height, essentially. So it is, like, logistically, at least the height is straight. Now, Franky should be bigger than both of these guys, but he is crouching down in his particular pose, so it wouldn't shock me if he isn't. But that essentially is a review for Roronoa Zoro, New World, figure, POP. Yeah, Figuarts Zero POP, Roronoa Zoro, New World Edition. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a gameplay to win, and I'll catch you guys later. Slay.